Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis.
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
Good day and welcome to our podcast. This is CampHacker, episode 75, recorded on the 22nd of October, 2014. On today's show, professional development for CampPros. If you would like easy, automatic free updates of our podcast, you can subscribe in iTunes or use the free Stitcher app. This week's CampHacker podcast is sponsored in part by CampPros like you who support the show on Patreon. If you've got even one good idea from the CampHacker podcast, you could show your support for the show for as little as $1 per episode. We've got some great rewards too, just like a Kickstarter campaign. Please go to patreon.com/CampHacker and by the Camp Owners and Directors Association. You provide quality experiences for children, helping them grow and gain independence. We help you achieve your vision. Check us out at campownersanddirectors.com. And by Camp Easy. To save on your listing in a camp directory that parents love, use the code CampHacker for 70% off the price of a full camp registration. We hope you enjoy the CampHacker Show.
Hello, Camp Pros, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast. My name is Travis Allison. I run a podcast network and a blog where we talk about being a summer camp professional at camphacker.tv.
Hi, my name is Dan Weir. I'm the Director of Camping Services at Frost Valley YMCA. Frost Valley is a year-round camp conference education facility in the Catskill Mountains of New York, and this was my 18th summer this past summer working at camp.
And my name's Joe Richards. I'm the Executive Director at Pierce Williams Christian Center. We're a summer camp and education facility. We are located in Fingal, Ontario, just sort of halfway between Detroit and Toronto. And I do stuff.
And I'm Angie Atkinson. I'm the camp director at Camp Lantern Creek in Montgomery, Texas. And we are a creative leadership summer camp for girls. And I do lots of cool stuff as well.
Angie, it's great to have you back on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, that's awesome. So this discussion that we are having today, you know what, before we get into the discussion, I do want to not just gloss over the fact that Angie's joining us. She's been with us once before when we talked about program. But Angie, for those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit more about Camp Lantern Creek?
Absolutely. So we are a 3-year-old summer camp, and we were started by our owner who always wanted to create a unique and fun environment for girls. So what we do is we run camp for about 6 weeks right now, and we focus on creative leadership. So we do a lot of visual and performing arts programming, and we've combined that with the traditional summer camp. We still have archery, canoeing, all the outdoor fun activities, and we focus on empowering girls by talking about what creativity is and how you can take it and use it in any part of your life, and that it's not just being an artist or a musician, and really focus on how you can use that in your leadership style. We do a 4-year leadership program once our girls are in high school.
Yep.
And we actually just rewrote our program and are improving it this next year, which I'm very excited about. So it's a lot of fun. It's exciting and a little scary to have been working with this camp from the ground up.
Yep.
We've been able to create a lot of traditions, and camp is constantly and always changing. It's a great experience.
Yeah, that's cool. What a great thing to be in it from the very beginning. So We had I've been thinking about a topic for the show and ask on CampPros what people do for their own professional development. So I want to really focus on professional development today. We've talked about different aspects of this at different times in the shows, and so we thought we'd just break this down. Especially wanted to focus on things that aren't, hey, what's the camp next to us doing? What expands? What can we do to expand our own education beyond that? And I think that there are a lot more opportunities in the last 4 or 5 years than there were 7 years ago when I was directing. And so I just wanted to try to pick up on some of those things. I know, Joe, that you've talked a lot about stuff like the other camp conference that you are on the committee of. What sort of things do you do beyond traditional professional development?
Well, I think beyond traditional professional development, it's what really opened my eyes was last year I had the opportunity to do a 3-month sabbatical away from my job, a paid sabbatical, and that opened my eyes. I did a trip to Australia, and that trip I visited 13 different summer camps and education facilities, and it made me realize that some of my education budget might be better spent not going to a hotel in Toronto or a hotel in New York City, but it might be better spent spending, a week traveling to 2 or 3 camps and actually taking tours and visiting camp directors. I find that my education is about new ideas and what we bring back. And so I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of website stuff. I try to expand where I go for training as opposed to just go to the traditional places. So if I've always gone to the Ontario Camping Association, annual conference, and that's the only place I go, then how do I know what else is out there? So this year I'm in a few weeks we're going to do Think Camp here at Pierce Williams, where I'm off to. In September, I was in New York City for a fundraising workshop, which was different because there were no other camp people. It was sort of totally away from camp. Mm-hmm. I'm off to the ACA National in February to do a talk with their EPIC, the Emerging Professionals in Camping group, just before the conference, and then I'll stay in New Orleans for the conference, and then then the Buckeye Leadership Workshop, which isn't a camping conference per se. There's lots of 4-H kids and there's lots of camp people. There's camp directors from Michigan and from Ontario and from Ohio and from Florida at that conference, but the mix is something that you don't see at other conferences. So I just try to expand what I do and find other opportunities that can bring new ideas. This comes from the base that if we only read what's in our field, then we don't make the connections from outside of our field. There's a talk I give, and I talk about the fact that years ago, when I've stopped subscribing to the 2 magazines only because I don't need to, what happens is Rolling Stone arrives, and at the same day, Discover magazine arrives. And Discover is a very different magazine than Rolling Stone. 2 very different industries, 2 very different things, neither related to summer camp. But by reading both of those, you can it brings ideas back in that simply you can make connections within your own job that you wouldn't see if you didn't read, if you weren't widely read. And it goes to one of my favorite quotes is, the larger the island of knowledge, the longer the shoreline of wonder. So it's one of those things where the more I know, the more I want to know. And it's not just about camping. It's about how camping fits into the world. And if we don't, and that's where my education sort of focuses on is trying to figure out how we fit into the world and how we can make a better fit.
Right. That's awesome. Angie, where do you go for your professional development?
I go to quite a few different websites on a regular basis. I really like, I think a lot of CampPros like TED Talks, and I know I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek's leadership page, and one of my favorite offbeat kind of things is Soul Pancake, which is a video and blog website that was started by Rainn Wilson, and it's the home of Kid President.
Yeah.
And I have used those videos and ideas. There's so many great, they'll do like funny things with people off the street that are improv, and they'll get people talking to each other. And I like to use a lot of those ideas within my staff training. And I showed a lot of those videos this past summer, and ended up with some really great feedback from my staff. They found out that they were able to connect back to their life a lot more, as Joe is saying, and as camping professionals, and what we're teaching is critical thinking to our campers and to our staff. It's definitely important for us to be able to have those same skills and practice those same skills. So I also love improv everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a great, great place for ideas, and I find that just helps me get out of the camp bubble and get my creative thinking flowing. I also really like a blog called Positively Positive, and I've found quite a few leadership articles on there. And sometimes they're not even necessarily leadership articles. It's just something that I feel like really applies to my own life, and I'm then able to apply to how I am a leader, and take that into how I lead at camp. So there's quite a few ones that I've read about the power of vulnerability, and Bren Brown has quite a few articles about that, and I really take those to heart.
Yeah.
When it comes, yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. And Dan, for you, what's your sources?
Yeah, I think like Joe was talking about, I really look outside the field for inspiration, and Angie, I love Soul Pancake as well too. I think it's one of those ones that just has very thoughtful questions, and what we do with children and staff is kind of bring that out, and I think that's the attraction of camp as well. It's funny. The YMCA actually has a very strong network of professional development sessions that are kind of internal. Everything with from volunteerism to fiscal management and learning how to build a budget. So that's been a kind of a nice base to play off of. But really, what I'm looking for outside of it, I look to podcasts. And I think the unique thing about being a camp director, being in the camp industry, is that it requires a very wide skill set. Mm-hmm. It's one of those jobs where just when you master something, you need to figure out how to do something else, and those skill sets that necessarily don't align as well. So I've been listening actually to a lot of business podcasts lately. So like the Harvard Business Review podcast I've been listening to. Yeah. There's the $100 MBA I've been listening to. Just thinking about how to make Frost Valley more sustainable and to keep income coming in that sense. And that was definitely something with a youth development master's and a psych undergrad degree. Never had those discussions. So I'm constantly looking for the things that I'm weak on, for lack of better words, in the skill set. I go to books a lot. I think if you look at the tools of the week that I recommended, a majority of them are books. I really believe in picking the bits of wisdom out of them and figuring out what applies to you. With conferences, I really do enjoy them. But I actually find the benefit of a conference is listening to a great speaker and then getting their contact information and contacting them afterwards. For instance, I met the keynote at the 2012 National ACA conference after he spoke, and I asked him if I could get a cup of coffee with him and just pick his brain, and we ended up going out to dinner, and on top of eating smoked steak, which was phenomenal, ended up hanging out with him and a few other camp professionals that are well respected, and just had literally the best conversation ever in terms of, I was writing down the whole thing. I still have the notepad, and it's like covered in barbecue grease, but I think that having that moment with a speaker because they need you as much as you need them. They need to know what's going on in the industry.
Yep.
I think that is the one of the best things about going to a conference is making a connection with somebody that has an idea that you want to bring to your camp. Writing has been a good source as well too. When you're forced to write something, you have to do some research. I think that is a pretty powerful thing for kind of being a platform for you to go out there and get things. And some of my staff right now, they're just doing research on homesickness and how we work with ADHD, and just picking a topic that has been the issue at your camp and just fully diving into research. I really find is beneficial. Outside of that, I really look to education as an indicator of where to go and not to be reactive to. So, in the States, there's this tremendous push over the past decade with testing. Kids are being tested all the time, and parents of kids are feeling that stress way more than they were a decade ago. That's why I think camp is so successful, because we can provide what they're not getting during the school year. And I think you have to look at that as something to kind of be reactive to figure out how to work in the language into your camp program, and for you to become well versed on it as well. So you could speak to families and sympathize with them and have that empathy. I think all of that makes a huge difference. But those are really where I draw my inspirations from. Outside of that, it's just having a good list of contacts that I could go bounce ideas off of. The Summer CampPros group is definitely that for someone that doesn't have a contact. Really having a few people that you could just lay out an idea with on the table and find out if you're crazy for thinking this is wrong, that sort of thing. Those are all things that have led to my professional development. I really believe people need a mentor as well. Yep. And that a lot of people, especially in our industry, want to be mentors. So.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking about how my personal education has developed as we've been developing CampHacker. Certainly been things that echo what everybody has said. I like to look as outside of the industry as I can for inspiration. I think that I learn from photography stuff all the time, which really helps me become a better storyteller, which I think is something that we lack. We have a gut feeling for the benefits of what we offer at camp, but we, as an industry, generally lack the ability to explain what we do really well. So I look to stuff like photography and movie making as an inspiration way to learn that kind of thing. And I think one of the biggest things for me, is masterminds. And it's like Dan having a mentor. For me, getting together with a group of people who share a focus on the industry. And I belong to two active masterminds, and I run masterminds for camp directors as well. But the two I belong to as a member, one is a group of camp consultants who get together a couple times a month and just share ideas. And it's an amazing opportunity to ask questions. And I love the idea of the mastermind because everybody comes into it so open. We're a pretty open industry anyway for sharing ideas, but everybody comes into it so open and just lays everything out on the table and helps each other build their businesses. And that's what I see happen within the masterminds that I run for camps, is that everybody's focused on helping each other person build their camp business. So if there's one camp professionals, and I run another, I'm part of another one that is for people who build businesses online. And it's kind of cool because it's not about camp, and people really don't get what I do. But they understand producing media stuff. They understand working for clients as a consultant, et cetera. So I get lots of neat stuff from them. So, Dan, I want to pick up on one of the things that you said about having a mentor. How did you get a mentor?
Lucky for me, I've been working for professionals that over my time that really came up the chain, for lack of better words. And that is one of the nice things about nonprofit camping. People do bounce around a fair bit. So that has really helped me identify mentors. So Yeah, and I feel like I have mentors for different things. I don't go to the same mentor for everything I need. I also don't want to exhaust that mentor, in that sense. But yeah, I feel I have three that I regularly go to when I have questions and ideas. So,
Right. Joe, do you have people that you go to that you would consider a mentor?
Oh, that's a great question. There's no one, and I've often thought about that. There's no one that I sort of go to on a regular basis and consider a mentor, and it's something I've thought about even this far into my camping career, that to find someone. There are people I can talk to if I need to talk to. I think in my life it's been very. I have a brother who was a camp director, and so as siblings, if you're lucky enough to have a sibling who does exactly what you do or did exactly what you do, you can talk a lot about those things with your sibling, which is like a mentor, but it's not a mentor. So the answer is I don't have anyone that I can go to per se, but it's something that I would believe in and I do miss because I don't know how much better I could do things if I did have a mentor, right?
Right. You don't know. Just don't know. Well, and Joe, you're at a point where it's like being a teacher. If you offered to mentor somebody or someone asked you to mentor them, then you would be learning a lot of the stuff on your own at this point in your career. Like teaching would be learning as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I've always gone with that, is that when I talk with other camp directors and people from and just other people in general, it's a lot about getting information from them. And when you're teaching people, that's one of the great things I love about doing the Buckeye Leadership Workshop every year is I sit on the committee. And when you're on the committee, you have to present at the conference. And it's not a 45-minute session. It's not a 10-minute session. It's 8 hours. It's 8 hours of instruction. And so I always feel that by doing Buckeye, I learn so much, even though I'm leading the session, right? Because in 8 hours of instruction, there's a lot of stuff that we can all learn.
Right. Yeah. Angie, do you feel like you have a mentor in the industry?
Yes, our owner is definitely one of my main mentors, in that she is continually pushing me to grow and try new things and find information on leadership and whatnot. But I definitely think that it was an area that I've struggled in. I've worked for several different organizations and trying to maintain relationships and contacts, and it wasn't until I settled here that I was able to learn from some other camping professionals that the power of networking at conferences. And so not just using conferences for the seminars and all the information there, but really putting yourself out there through conferences and also through the Summer Camp Pros group of asking questions and just, calling somebody up or emailing them when you have a question. I know I've emailed Travis before. I've emailed with Ruby and Beth before, and everybody's so open and willing to help that I think getting to the point where you can find that mentor is definitely something that can be hard to navigate for a young professional. And I remember the first conference that I went to, I was so excited and I wanted to tell everybody about what my camp was doing, and then I realized that it was more of a time to step back, and I had this amazing group of people in front of me that if I could walk up to anybody and start a conversation, and it was more important to ask them about their camp and what's their favorite program or what makes your camp special, because you're able to learn all of those different aspects. You might want to ask a specific question about marketing or site management or whatnot, and to bring that back to camp as opposed to focusing on what I had to say. So I think that building up to finding a mentor is challenging, but it's fun. You can build that list, and you need to make sure after conferences that you take all the business cards that you collected and send follow-up emails and thank yous, and make sure that you maintain those contacts.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Dan, now that you've been in this role for a while, are you finding people are coming to you as a mentor?
I'm sorry, Joe spoke over you for a few seconds.
Oh, Jan, are you finding people come to you as a mentor?
Yeah, I definitely have that relationship with a few people, and I've gotten random emails from people that found me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to talk with them as well too. For the people that I really feel like I have that mentor-mentee relationship with, I really do my best to supervise my staff in a way that's developing them and making sure they feel like they're getting the most out of it. I don't know if you saw, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal last week on the owner of the Container Store, and the headline was about how much he pays his frontline staff. But really, the intriguing thing about the article was his supervision system, where they basically, I think it's every month, or at least every quarter, every employee gets roughly 12 hours of development time with their supervisor. And if you think about the amount of time they're investing in it and how much that probably translates to their business, even though it's retail, we are in a business industry where we're serving people. And I really believe in that. So I try to do that for my employees. And then I have quite a few that have worked here because we're a year-round place, and so people have moved on, and I keep that relationship with. I literally, when my camp staff are leaving during the summer, after the summer, I offer out to them if they ever needed someone to look over their resume. I'm more than happy to it. I'm kind of shocked sometimes when I read out resumes when I see from people. I think that's one of the best things that we can do is kind of pay it forward and put it ourselves out there, and it also just kind of reinvest in our camp staff. And when we go to Tool of the Week, I'm sharing one that I share with my camp staff that when they kind of need mentoring in their non-work life. But I think it's important to offer it out. I think it's the one of the pillars of our industry as well too, is that we're constantly preparing people to be better leaders. If you think about raising your campers to become your staff and raising your staff to become better leaders, it's a really powerful thing, and I don't think a lot of industries have that.
Right. Joe, you were going to say something?
I was going to say that Ange brought up a great point about the network, right? And so I find that at educational events, it's a lot more about the time in between sessions. Trust me, there are some great sessions out there, but also the further you get into your career, the more that you think to yourself, okay, well, I wonder what the one good point I'll get out of this session is, or did I just waste, an hour of my time in this session? And the times at conferences where I've always felt I've gotten the most information is those little side conversations with people, and it's creating the network after people, after you leave, right? So having attended a wide variety of things and from outside of camping, you start to build this network of people who aren't just camp people, but are professionals in other ways that can help your facility and what you do. And I think that we shouldn't gloss over at all how important it's not just about where you go to get your education, but it's about who you meet while you're there. And Dan, as Dan said, connecting up with and making those connections with speakers, but it's also making connections with new people. So I find it difficult when you go to the same place you've always gone and you see the same people. And I can't imagine that it's It's funny. Over the past couple of years, I've taken my summer camp director, who's now full-time, Jessica, to these conferences. And for her, a lot of times it's her first time there. And so she comes back and she talks about how amazing the sessions were and whatnot. And I've even sat in on some of the same sessions as she's in, but we didn't know we were in the same room. And so we have very different conversations as we leave, because I saw something and she sees something with fresh eyes, and it's great to remember that conferences aren't there so much for the longtime professional as to ensure that we continually bring up people in the camping industry that will learn new things and go from there. So I guess my end point there is that it's the network of people, and the more things I've gone to, the more that network has expanded, and I still communicate with those people.
Right.
One of the best things about the Northeast Y Camp Conference is not what people think. It's actually it's on our camp, so people don't leave because we're literally in the middle of nowhere, and we actually just bring in all the entertainment and anything they'd want that evening that would make them want to leave the conference, like by words, alcohol. We bring it into the conference, and the amount of sharing that happens those evenings, I can't tell you, it's been 20 times better than some of the other conferences I go to.
Yep. Yeah, I love camp conferences that are all secluded in one place. I mean, it's fun. I'm looking forward to going to New Orleans and getting to see the city, but it's so fun to be sort of secluded and having seen the magic of the Northeast Y Conference, and also known, even our local conference, the Ontario Camp Association conference, has been one time in a city and another time at a more secluded resort, and I've always loved the fellowship much better the times when we're away together, doing stuff together. I want to pick up on what Dan said. Dan gave us a couple of good ideas for podcasts, and since we are podcast professionals and obviously interested in the medium, I wanted to ask Angie and Joe if there's any other podcasts that you recommend that people could pick up and listen to gain a better sense of professionalism in camping. Angie, are there ones that you listen to that you like?
This is a new area for me. I haven't found a whole lot besides CampHacker that are directly related, but I do listen to How Stuff Works.
Yes.
Just for fun. And it's actually been useful a couple of times, oddly with like site management or or even marketing.
That's perfect.
That one's a fun one that I like a lot. Yeah.
Cool. And you, Joe?
Well, that's interesting. I'm looking at my Stitcher playlist right now, and I think to myself, okay, well, I listen to a lot of story podcasts. So, This American Life, and they have a new one called Serial, but I also listen to Freakonomics, which is a great sort of podcast to realize how things work and the way things economically work. The NPR, the TED Radio Hour podcast, is a good one to listen to as well, because if you can't watch the video, so living in the middle of nowhere where you have really sucky internet like we do, I don't go to YouTube to watch stuff. I listen to this great podcast called 99% Invisible, which is all about architecture.
Yes, and design.
And it is amazing. Architecture and design, and it makes me, it just brings other thoughts into my head. I listen to sports podcasts, Pop Culture Happy Hour, which is another NPR podcast, to stay up on technology stuff. And I listen to Spark from CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. For those who don't know, Spark is a radio show about technology, I suppose, and it's always good to listen to as well. So, and then I have a new folder that's just called 8 shows, and they're shows that were all recommended in one spot from somewhere, and I haven't gotten into any of them, so I'm not going to recommend any of them at this point in time. But you can ask me later about those.
Cool. Well, those are great ones. I was looking in my folders, and I just switched phones, and I have been trying to only move podcasts over when I feel like I need them, because I had on my old phone, when it died, I had 400 podcasts saved on it that I hadn't listened to yet, just because there's so many different shows, and it's a medium that I absolutely love. I love audio, because I split my time between audiobooks and podcasts all the time, so I go back and forth depending on what my mood is and what I need to get out of it. So a couple that I really love, 99% Invisible is a great one, and there's another one that's like that is just cool little stories. I don't know if it makes me a better camp professional, but it's good entertainment. Frees my head a little bit. It's called The Memory Palace. And it's super, super short. Some of them are 2 minutes long and some of them are 20 minutes long. But they're just about sort of a moment in history. It's kind of fun. And it really personalizes it. Looking through these ones that I think have had the most impact on my life as a professional, I listen to a lot of marketing podcasts and a lot of photography podcasts. But I would say ones that have been huge impact for me in the business. One is called Smart Passive Income by a guy named Pat Flynn. And he has a totally different take on business than I do, but he's really smart about it, and he's really open, and his personality carries through, and I really like it. The other one that I've listened to a lot lately is the Tim Ferriss show. Tim Ferriss, who's famous for the 4-Hour Work Week, now has an interview podcast, and he interviews really fascinating people. Like, his really whole goal is find somebody terribly interesting and interview them. So just get lots of really cool stuff out of them. And I would say the last one that I would totally recommend is called Under the Influence. And it is a show about advertising and marketing, also from the CBC. That is 20-minute shows that are nice and short, but they teach you so much. I'm just stunned by the great stuff they give away. And they always analyze commercials and advertising campaigns, and just taught me so much about what I have reflected on to clients, into my client work on advertising and marketing. So those are definitely ones I would recommend. I want to wrap this up with one final question for each of you. And Dan, I want to start with you. What do you think is missing for you? What's the piece that you want to be there that you haven't found, or that you really would love to find in some way for developing you as a camp professional? Sure.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of what I feel is missing. I think education has these benchmarks to go by, these industry benchmarks, and I think the camping industry's benchmarks are very subjective and a little all over the place. And so it would be great if there was, you could say the ACA standards are for this for your camp, but it'd be great for a camp director to have something to kind of go off of a master list of skills you should be working on with your career. I think that would be really beneficial. A lot of the consultants that are in our industry are experts on one thing, or a few things. Not they're dimensional. They definitely see all of camp, but they're really they have their aspect, which is great. That's you don't want. There is no expert on everything, but it would be great if there was just one compiled list of this is what you should be expert on, or what you should be well-rounded on. I feel like I have gotten that through mentors and conversations, but there isn't like a definitive list that is shared with our industry, for lack of better words.
Right.
I think that's what I've noticed is missing for my own development. I kind of look at the next jobs up and what skills do they have, or I look at their job postings and look at, okay, if I was to apply to this, how many of these can I tick off that I actually have done, sort of thing.
Right. Cool. That's awesome. Sounds like a good future blog post for Dan Loves Camp.
Yeah. That's definitely, yeah. I just get my kid to sleep. I could write it.
Find time to write. Sometime when she's in high school.
Yeah, exactly.
Angie, for you, what's missing?
I'd say one that I've been working on is trying to do some sort of mastermind group for girl educators, not necessarily just summer camp, but educators that are working with girls and young girls to empower them and increase their confidence. I think that girl education is shifting, and to kind of find that resource, which my tool of the week is related to. But I think the other one that is an immediate need for me is related to what Dan was saying, is an easy place to learn basic things about site management. easier than, the workshops at places like Home Depot and whatnot, but on how to do some basic repairs, I certainly know some things, but then there's other things that I end up having to call and outsource that I'd prefer not to. So some sort of easy, accessible, this is how basic plumbing works, to this is how to install, some sort of shelving or whatnot.
Right.
That would definitely be very helpful.
Awesome. Right on. That's cool. And Joe, what's missing for you?
I think the thing that's missing for me, and after listening to Dan and Angie talk, the thing is a peer group support, specifically thinking about what the future of camp is. I know we talk about it. This is something I think about all the time. I've tried to go to locally to an executive director's peer learning circle a couple of times in London, and what I find is that a lot of people are, and this has nothing to do with camp, the peer learning circle. I'm the only camp person there, but it's executive directors from other nonprofits. So you would think that that's a great place to learn and talk about what to do, and it just becomes a huge complaint session. It just right. and I don't want to spend my time talking about what is wrong. I want to spend my time, let's fix that and move ahead. How do right. we? What is the future of camping? And so the things that Ange mentioned, like basic repairs and whatnot, I often think to myself, do we need to do too much? And do we feel like we need to do too much? I want to, as Dan said, that comprehensive list would be awesome, but it also comes to the fact that we want to, how do we move our minds forward and think about what the future is if we're always stuck on doing the day-to-day tasks? And so that's really what I'm missing, is sort of what the future of camp is, and sort of a futurist view of what camp can be, which sounds like a great podcast to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good podcast series, Joe.
Oh yeah, I could, and I've often joked with you, Travis, about just sitting down in front of a microphone and talking for 5 to 10 minutes by myself, and then putting it out to the world and seeing what people think. Because I think when ideas, and this is, so what I'm missing is those ideas, and that's where in those quiet conversations you have with people when you are when you're at conferences and you're having a beer, or you're drinking, or you're just sitting around chatting on a bench outside. I think those quiet conversations about where the industry is and where the industry goes is what we need to have more of. But they can't be quiet conversations. They need to be shouted from the mountaintop so that people hear and think about it and aren't afraid and coward that the world's going to change and camp's going to be left behind.
Right. Right on. Well, I think that is a great spot to leave off with a bit of a call to action for people looking to talk about the future of camp. I certainly hope that if you have ideas like that you'll share with them here, share with them with us, so that we can make it part of our ongoing conversations. You've already had 2 big shows, I think, this year talking about the future of camp and how we can impact that. But would love to hear your ideas. So if you have any ideas, feel free to send them to Travis@camphacker.tv, on Twitter @CampHacker. And I also follow the CampPros hashtag on Twitter. So would love to see any of that, any ideas for discussions of the big future. Which also is another good point. Like Angie first came on the show because she's put her hand up and said, I'd love to be a part of this particular discussion. And I'm so glad that we can get her back on. But we love having people be a part of the panel and be new speakers on this topic. So if you're looking to be involved in the discussion of what summer camp means in the future and how we can make it better, then please also use those contact points to get in touch with me to volunteer to be one of the panelists. We'd love it. So I thank you, all 3 of you, for your great input into this discussion and given lots of people ideas of where they can go to develop themselves as a summer camp professional. And that means that we are now ready for our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
For those of you just joining us for the first time, maybe you saw this on Twitter and or someone shared the episode with you. Our tool of the week is something that each one of us brings to the table to make ourselves a better camp director. And I had an awesome discussion with a bunch of Presbyterian camp directors, a couple who have been a co-host before, and they say that how much they really appreciate the tool of the week. So I'm really excited for this part of the show. I know it's one of my favorites, although it's like picking a child. I love the discussions and where they go, but I love this little section of short, quick things that make you a better camp director. So Dan, I want to start with you, please. Can you tell us what your tool of the week is?
Sure, yeah. So as I mentioned during the show, this is a book that I give to a lot of my summer camp staff that recently graduated college. It's or have just landed on their first time their job. It's the title is "I'll Teach You to Be Rich" by Ramit Sethi, and it has a flashy title and a flashy cover as well too. But really, what it is, it's teaching you over six steps to eliminate your debt, to start saving, and to really just set yourself up for success in the future. It's not a quick get rich scheme or anything of that matter. And the reason I give it to people is because I tell people if they're choosing to be in education or to work with children or to be in this industry, they're never going to make an incredible amount of money. And that the best thing that they could do is to really understand how to set themselves up to succeed in the long term, and to how to start a retirement and what to look for with a retirement and how to understand the difference between them, and really not stress about the fact that the income is not insane, and a lot of people will criticize people for taking their first career step in camping because when you get a real job, or the whole living for two over 10 months, that sort of thing. But I think this is a very easy way to kind of wrap your head around it. It's obviously not replacing a financial advisor or anything of that matter, but for people that are just graduating college, I think it's a book I've given to probably say over a dozen people, and I have not heard anyone criticize it at all, and said they said they felt like it finally kind of made sense. And it's definitely written in a way that is very friendly to read, which I think makes a difference. So, yeah.
Right on. Thanks, Dan. Joe, what's your tool?
My tool of the week is something I'm using right now. It's this Blue Mic microphone. Blue Mics are the microphones that I've used for this podcast, I think, since we started. So I own two. I own the Blue Mic Snowball and I own the Blue Mic Yeti, which are both widely available. And essentially, they're USB plug-in microphones. You can record music on them. You can do podcasts. You can do group discussions. I know that Travis uses them as well. And they have a wide range. The Snowball actually works with with an iPad. If you're doing stuff on that, there's a few things you need to go through. But the link in the show notes is actually to their whole series of microphones. They've had stuff. I know that Dan talked years ago Dan talked about Blue Mics when it was a plug-in for the top of an iPhone, and
yes.
they discontinued that one, but the whole line has really blown up, and it's a great sort of tool that you can use if you're talking on Skype or if you're talking anywhere.
Nice.
Good one, Joe. Thanks. Inchi, you referenced your tool of the week a couple times in the show too. What is it?
Yes, so my tool of the week is a more traditional professional development training. I went in this past April to an organization called the Girls Leadership Institute, and they run a professional training called Girl Meets World, and it is a training on, they give you a copy of the curriculum on social and emotional learning for girls 6th through 12th grades, and it's a fantastic youth development tool. I just used so many of the lessons that they have pre-written out in our new leadership program here at Lantern Creek, and it's a really great resource as well. They have the Girls Leadership Institute has a blog that I read regularly, and their co-founder, Rachel Simmons, is a pretty well-known author that in girl education. She's written The Curse of the Good Girl and Odd Girl Out, which are both very good books to read in regards to how to handle girl aggression or girl and girl conflict, and how to teach girls how to express emotions in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And so it's a great organization. I really, really enjoy them. And their training was intimate, and I made a lot of contacts outside of the summer camp industry.
That's fantastic. What a great share, Angie. Thank you. After that, after Angie was so thoughtful about hers, mine's going to seem a little dumb, but mine is well, really, it's about personal health. I know that Joe's a big fan of standing desks, and I tend to switch back and forth between sitting and standing all day long because it's not unusual for me to have 14-hour days at a desk, which I know is probably the same for a lot of camp directors. So I have this easy adjust monitor arm that I got. It's built by 3M, and I'll link to it in the show notes so you'd see how to get it from Amazon. It's the first one I've seen that has such a huge range from that I can attach it to my desk, and my monitor can be here, which I'm using. You see me refer to it often in the shows, but it also then can adjust way up high for me when I'm standing and working. So I just I built a little stand to put my keyboard and mouse on, and then stand and work there for an hour or two at a time. And it's great to have something that is two solutions. In a previous iteration of the show and of my desk, I had a whole standing area, and I would actually have to physically pick my monitor up and put it up on top of the section of the desk that was built up high. But this, I can just zoom it up and down. So it's not that expensive. I think it's $150, $160. And for the amount of times I use it in a day, it was totally great money for me. So if you want a chance to cut down on your risk of deep vein thrombosis and also just improve your overall back health, then I totally recommend that you pick up something or a way to stand or go between standing and sitting. And this has worked really well for me. So there you go. There's our show. Thank you very much, everybody, for your contributions. I really appreciate everyone who's been listening. Before I say goodbye to our hosts and get them to tell you how to get in touch with them, if you're looking for someone to reach out to answer some questions, what I want to do is just call your attention to a couple of different things. Number one, if this show's been helpful to you, and you would really appreciate it if you would share the show with others and let other people know how to get in touch with us or to find the show. And one of the best ways to do that is to go to camphacker.tv/iTunes and leave a rating and review there. It's incredibly helpful. I know it's a bit time consuming, but you could do it in less than 10 minutes and would be helpful for us to get seen by more camp professionals in the industry. So again, that's at camphacker.tv/iTunes. Also want to say that I hope you check out the other shows on the network. Some of the things we've talked about today are touched on by other shows in our network, including the Because of Summer Camp podcast, which has been created by two young camp professionals who are helping camps to illustrate to families the benefits to their kids of coming to camp. And it's interviews with people who've worked at camp, most of whom have gone on to do other things, and talking about one aspect of the lessons that they learned from camp. And it's really, we're putting it out there so the camps can use it to share with parents. Here are the benefits of summer camp. So check out Because of Summer Camp. And Camp Code is our other show as well. So please check that out. Its focuses on staff training, and I think is a pretty amazing resource for people who are focusing on getting their staff to be better staff members. And my final part before we say goodbye is to encourage everybody to go to thinkcamp.ca. Joe has mentioned this conference. We talked about it on the past few shows. It's an awesome in-person, hands-on camp conference, different than anything else. It really is all of the hallway conversations, because the conference focuses around the hallway conversations, the good parts of it, because it's people standing up and say, hey, I need help with this, or hey, I have this idea that we tried, and to explain it to you. And so it's really the best of the social aspect of the camp conference plus the professional development. So go to thinkcamp.ca and check that out. Joe, what are the dates for Think Camp?
Dates are the evening of November 11th to noon on November 13th.
Fantastic. So please go do that. I'm looking forward to being there. I'm going to be the first day, and really looking forward to meeting camp professionals and seeing everybody. It's really just a couple of hours drive from Michigan and a couple of hours drive from New York State as well. And you get a lot of awesome stuff out of it because there'll be lots of Ontario CampPros there. So we're looking forward to that. So let me again thank the three of you for being on the show and all of you for listening. Joe, if people want to follow up with you on anything, how do they get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is just to go to yoyojoe.com. Everything I do there from Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. And then anything about Pierce Williams, you can go to campisbetter.com. Life is good, camp is better.
Fantastic. Thanks, Joe, for being on.
Not a problem.
And Angie, how can people find you or connect with you?
You can connect with me. Best way would be email. Angie, that's ANGE, no I, at CampLanternCreek.com. You can check out Camp Lantern Creek at our website, and then my Twitter handle is Popsy87.
Fantastic. Angie, it's so great to have you back on. Thanks.
Thank you for having me back on. It was fun.
Great. We'll look forward to having you on again soon. Dan, how can people get in touch with you?
Yep. So I tweet at Dan Loves Camp, and I also blog at danlovescamp.com as well too. And then you can find me at Frost Valley YMCA, which is frostvalley.org.
Fantastic. So if there have been stuff like the tool of the week or some of the other parts of our discussion you want to check out and get more information, please go to our show notes at camphacker.tv/podcast. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. Camp Hacker, bringing your world into focus.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.